Welcome to our webinar today on the sacred art of yantras and mandalas with Mavis. Since childhood, she has been creating art. As she says, it took her to a very deep and soulful place. And growing up in a time when being an artist wasn't considered a mainstream career, she listened to her inner voice and pursued going to art school in New York City. Ever since then, she has dedicated her life to teaching others and sharing the healing and transformative effect of a unique art form known as Harish Johari wash painting technique. Mavis is not only a highly respected artist, but also a professional doula, providing emotional, physical, and informational support to women throughout their pregnancy, birth, and early postpartum period. Interestingly enough, she has also studied Vedic astrology for many years. So this is when Mavis and I first met, which was at a Vedic astrology conference up in an ashram in the Poconos. And she was conducting art sessions in the evenings for attendees on drawing yantras and mandalas. So welcome, Mavis. It's truly an honor and such a great pleasure to reconnect after so many years, and it's truly a pleasure to be hosting you today. I know you've prepared a very engaging and informative talk for our attendees, but if you don't mind, I'd like to maybe just ask you a couple questions before we get started. So it mentions on your website that you were drawn to art at a very early age and actually met your teacher in your early 20s. So I would be very interested, as I think our attendees would be, to just hear a little bit more about your teacher and your apprenticeship under him and how it is that you came to meet him, really what drew you to him, and his particular style of sacred art, which is truly unique. I have seen it. I have bought his books over the years. It's really very stunning and beautiful artwork. So if you could just share a little bit about that, Mavis.
Sure. Well, like you said in my bio, I did, I have always been involved in creating art since I was very little because I was always a kind of quiet, internal type of child. So it was my way of tuning everything out and I can go within. And then I did decide because I had to decide, if I wanted to go to college or not, what I was going to do, because I had a plan where I was going to work, save money, and travel the world. And then I wanted to go live in Paris and be an artist. That was my plan. But, the universe has different plans for you, as I learned. So um, I had been studying Western astrology at this place called Sri Center, which was in New York City on 51st Street, and with a teacher named Jerome Rainville, who's not alive anymore. And the center belonged to another Indian teacher named what we call him Shamji Bhatnagar, and that was Sri Center. And I was studying with him. I was studying all about chakras and chakra psychology. And Jerome, who became my friend, he said to me that I should go meet. Well, his name is Harish Johari. He said you should go meet Harish. Those of us that were close to him call him Dada. So anyway, so I said okay. I had no. If somebody I trusted told me something, I would probably do what they said. So, and I considered him my teacher, one of my teachers. So anyway, this other teacher, Shamji and Harish Johari, used to teach workshops together in Europe. And they were going to be somewhere near Amsterdam. So I thought, okay, well, I can go. I was like 22 or I don't know what I was. I was like, yeah, I'll just go. So I went I went to Amsterdam. I got there, nobody was there because they were still teaching and somehow missed me at the airport. So anyway, I wound up being in Amsterdam for 2 days on my own, which was fun. And then they came back and I met my teacher. And really, I didn't know anything about him. So it's like people ask me that question, well, what attracted you to the work, what he did? It kind of just found me. That's all I can say. I went there and I met him. The first thing he asked me was if I know how to make chai. And I said, yeah, sure, like, right, chai, okay. So, I made the chai like with all the spices and everything, and then I served it to him, and he said, "Oh, very good." And then he made a face, and which was my first lesson that he doesn't like chai with spices. He just likes it with milk. You know how you boil the milk and the water, and then you put the tea in. That's how he liked it. No spices, and then sugar. So I knew from that day on I was never going to make the spiced tea for him. Just not. So I made the tea, and then after that we started cooking. So because whenever he was around, there was always food. That was very important for him. He liked to feed people and cook for people, and so I was helping him cook. And the next thing he asked me was if I could cut his hair because he knew that I had recently just became a hairdresser. So I said, okay, fine. So I cut his hair, and he had this very thick hair. So I can explain it was like the quills of a porcupine. They get into your skin and my clothes. So, I wasn't staying at the house where he was, so I didn't have a change of clothes or anything. So, um, he actually gave me um, one of his kurta pajamas. He used to wear them all the time, white kurta pajamas. So I was like, okay. So I wore that, and then he drew a picture for me, very small, of the deity Ardhanarishwara. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's half Shiva, half Shakti in one image. And I really like that image anyway. So he drew that. And I had never seen this before. So, it's not like I went there trying to study this because I didn't. And so he said, okay. He gave me a set of watercolors, and I sat in the corner, and he just said paint, no instruction, anything. So, I mean, I think he did tell me what the skin color was supposed to be and the clothes color was supposed to be on each deity. That much I knew, but the rest I didn't know. So, I sat there and I painted, and I was very happy because I didn't have to talk to anybody. I was a little shy back then, still shy, but not as bad as I was then. And people were coming in and out to visit him, so it was nice for me, and so I that was me starting to learn about deity painting and wash painting, and then okay, so this was in 1979, and so then he came from 1980 onward. He came to New York every year, and he also used to go to California, but New York was where I lived. So I used to go wherever he was. I would, I would just, whatever he was teaching, I wanted to know because I was fascinated by him and there was something calling me. It wasn't like I knew about any of these things because I didn't. I didn't know much. So, um, yeah. So in one workshop he taught yantra. So that was my introduction to it. And the way that he would teach is the first yantra you could learn, or that you would have to learn before you can learn the other ones, was the Ganesh yantra. Now, Ganesha, some of you might know, is the remover of obstacles, and also very helpful if you're starting in any sort of spiritual path to get Ganesha's grace before you go on. So it makes sense to do that yantra first, and then it opens up the doorway, the path. So I just remember in the workshop struggling like with that yantra. It was so hard for me. And I often see that in some of my workshops where some of the students are having a really hard time. I mean, I remember crying because I did not like it. I did not like the colors. I like the colors I like. I want to be free. I want to express. So it was a good practice for me to follow. I had to follow the rules and I had to follow the colors because it's very specific, which I'll explain more as we go along. So yeah, so then I started very seriously studying the deity painting with him. So he used to give me drawings of deities, and he actually had me learn the deity Saraswati, the goddess of art and knowledge and learning and many other things. And he had me make one in each color. So let's say I started with blue, so everything would be all blues. And that's how I learned the wash technique and shading and tone. And then I did the next one, let's say all greens, and I did one all reds. So I did it in a lot of different colors before he actually gave me the correct colors. So it was good for me, and I just accepted it. I never really questioned anything. I mean, he was my teacher, and if he said to do something, I did it. That's,
Yeah, and for those who may not know, he's very, very well known and famous for this technique. And I don't know what his, first
mhm,
books were, but I know when the Chakra book came out, I couldn't wait to get my hands on it. It was absolutely stunning. So,
mhm.
yeah, but there may be people in our attendees that are not familiar with him. So I just wanted to stress he is very well.
Well, before he was a writer, well, he was many things. When he was young, he was a poet, and then he was a sculptor. So he used to sculpt and make the deities in his local temple, and he lived in Bareilly and later moved to Haridwar. But those sculptures are still there in those temples. Like he made one of Shiva that was a fountain, so out of Shiva's head came water and other things. So and also he painted. He was an artist, and he did a whole series of paintings on the Ramayan, however you want to say it, and many other deities. Very beautiful. His iconography was amazing. So I learned that from him, and yeah. So
And maybe we can just show, I just took a few pictures off of your website,
okay.
and Vladimir was just going to put them up to show folks the type of beautiful art that you do.
Oh,
You
thank
may
you.
want to say a couple words about.
Yeah, that's Ganesh, and that came from the drawing. Well, I drew it, but I copied it from his drawing. And this is on silk. So this is the wash paint. I learned the wash painting first on paper, and then I learned it on silk, and now I'm back to paper. I like paper better.
Mm.
So yeah.
Next.
Oh, okay. So these are from a series that I did of it's a combination of mandala using the Vedic square, which I will explain a little bit, yantra, and deity all in one with the wash. So on the left is Kali, the goddess of transformation and destruction and taking you away from time bound things. So it's basically things that are no longer necessary, she gets rid of for you. And I could say that's true in my life. And then the one on the right is Saraswati, and her yantra's in the middle, and she's playing, I believe it's a veena.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
each deity holds different things in their hands, and they all have meaning. So,
Maybe I can just ask you a quick question if I heard right, Mavis. For Kali, did you say that this picture includes both a mandala and a yantra?
yes, it does. So you see there's like a design, sort of like a pattern behind her, and
Mm-hmm.
a star
Mm-hmm.
that
Yep.
I created by using this number grid called the Vedic square that creates patterns. And I'll show you other ones so people know
Okay.
what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
And
Yeah,
you'll explain the difference maybe at some point too of mandala and yantras because I know we're
absolutely.
discussing both of them. Perfect.
Hmm.
I think we've got one more picture.
Oh yeah,
Oh, beautiful.
that's in my son's house now. That one's not for never
Gayatri.
be for sale. That's a Gayatri,
Yes,
and she's considered
gorgeous.
the mother of the Vedas and connected to light and healing. And somehow I connect that one to my granddaughter being here. So
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, it's
Beautiful.
in their bedroom. So just leave it at that.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got one more. Okay.
Oh, okay. So the one on the left is Shiva and Shakti together. Well, they're separate, but they're coming together. And that's a mandala behind them. And the one on the right is a Venus yantra with a mandala. And I don't know, I was trying to come up with some sort of Venus energy, so I made those ladies.
Yeah, very, very nice.
Yeah,
Lovely.
and the colors are connected to the planet. And
Hmm.
yeah.
Great.
Hmm.
Good. Well, thank you. Thanks, Ademir, for showing that. And we'll just turn it over to you, Mavis, to
Okay, great.
share your wisdom and knowledge with us.
Okay, so I would like to put a yantra up on the screen. I share my screen. Is that what you want me to do? Okay.
Yes, if you would like to share screen, and then you should be able to. Whoops, there we go.
Can you see that?
Yes, we do. Hmm.
So, yeah, I don't really want all those other things on the side, but it doesn't matter.
That's okay.
Okay. Can I make it bigger? I might be able to. No. All right. So anyway, this is a yantra, and this happens to be Ganesh yantra, the one I was saying that I struggled with. And the reason why I struggled with it is because I really just didn't care for the color combination. But now when I look at it, I like it. So, because I understand what it does. And colors all have meanings. And on this yantra, so I just wanted to say what a yantra is. Yantras are geometric forms or containers of the energy of a deity or a planet. So in this case, this is Ganesh. Now, what makes a Ganesh? Well, there's certain shapes that are connected to Ganesh yantra, the colors. are connected to Ganesh. Um, Now, you'll see, and all the yantras I will show you, they are all the shape. So it's basically a square with 1, 2, 3, 4 things sticking out, and those are called gates. So the gates are the sort of like the portals, or like this place where the energy comes in and out of the yantra, or where the yantra breathes, the prana comes in and out. If it was just a square, it would be static. So with the gates, it gives it more energy, more life. And what did I want to say about that? Gates.
And I'll just mention too, if anybody, any of the attendees, if you have questions at all for Mavis as she goes along, feel free. There's a little Q&A box at the bottom, and so you just click on that, and you can type in your questions, and she'll be taking questions towards the end of the webinar.
So also, what I wanted to say about the square, so you'll see in all yantras, they all have these shapes. They all start with a square. And all the elements, okay, so there are 5 elements. All the elements are in the yantra. So the square represents the earth element, and it's also called the seat, the base of the yantra, asan, is and it's also called the bhupur. That's the name in Sanskrit, bhupur. Next, you'll see a circle or series of circles, and circles represent the water element and creation. And many yantras have 8 petals like this one. Some of the other ones have more, like the Sun Yantra has 12 petals. And I'll show you some other ones. But so this one has 8 petals, and the petals are connected to the lotus. So it's connected to purity. And there are 5 elements and 3 gunas. So the 5 elements are earth, water, fire, air, and akash, or ether. So those are the 5 petals, and then the 3 more is connected to the gunas. So the gunas are sattva, rajas, and tamas. And many of you know what that is. So if you don't, I'll explain it. So then we're moving inward, and then the triangle is connected to the fire element. And some yantras have upward pointing triangles, and some have downward pointing triangles. This one has an upward pointing triangle. And upward tends to be more male in energy. It also is more, the energy is more outward, which isn't necessarily male, but that's how I learned anyway. So it's an outward energy, it's upward. And when you have a downward pointing triangle, it's more feminine, and it's still fire, but there's also a water thing connected to it as well. And in this yantra, there's a 6-pointed star, and sometimes when people see that, like my mother, she goes, "Oh, it's the Star of David, or it's a Jewish star." So there must have been some sort of connection somewhere between ancient civilizations, because these are archetypal images. It's geometric, and many cultures have them. So the 6-pointed star is a combination of an upward and a downward pointing triangle. So when you put the 2 together like that, it creates balance and harmony. And then in the center is the bindu, which is the center point. And what I wanted to mention about the bindu, okay, when you start to draw a yantra, because that's what I teach, is how to construct the yantra and then color it. So we start by always, and in mandalas as well, we start by finding the center, and that center point becomes a bindu. Now you could just keep it, just have a bindu and not have anything around it, but that would be not so much fun. So the bindu is a point of creation. So we start with the bindu, then we create this whole circle, and then we go back in the end to the bindu. So it's the point of creation and the point of, what do you call it? Dissolution. Did I say that right? Where it dissolves and you go
Yes.
back
Hmm.
to where
Yeah.
you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that it's a game, you know. You start because you have a desire to create, and then you go back. It's cosmic consciousness. And so, and the nice thing about working with yantras is that you're working with both hemispheres of your brain, left brain, right brain, um, because when you're making the yantra, each yantra has a mantra that goes along with it. And you're supposed to be chanting the mantra while you're drawing and painting the yantra. And when you do that, it infuses the yantra with the energy of that particular deity that you're working with or planet. So when I make it like Ganesh, I chant Ganesh mantra over and over and over again while I'm making it, and that gives it the energy of Ganesh. And mantra, when you're saying mantra, that is a left brain activity because it's verbal, and drawing and painting is more of a right brain activity. So when you're doing both, you're, well, one, you're calming your left hemisphere, and we can certainly use more of that in our culture. And it also takes you to a centered, focused place because both the hemispheres are calming down and you're going into the center. So it helps you to go inward and become still. So the bindu is like the still point, and when you're creating a yantra, the process of making one is a meditation, which you're going inward, and then you can also meditate on it. You know, when you're finished, and you could use it as a meditation tool. But making it is a meditation. This I make this joke sometimes, not really a joke, but it's like I've never been a meditator. It's like not something I can do well. My mind is too active. But I could sit for 4 hours, maybe longer, creating this without moving, without getting up, being perfectly still and happy. So that's a success for me, you know, in terms of meditation and being still and calming my mind. So that works for me. It might not work for everybody, but it works for me. Okay. So that's what a yantra is. So do you want me to tell you what the difference between a yantra and a mandala is?
Sure. Sure. That would be great.
Okay, so a mandala is also circular. And actually, a yantra is a mandala, but it's a um, very specific, structured mandala. You don't vary if you're working with a specific energy or deity. So mandalas are more freeform in the sense that they come from your intuition and your internal world, and you're putting it out on the paper. But you're starting sort of in a circle or creating a circular feeling. Um, Now I work with a, where did I put that? All right, I gotta get this off the screen right now. Get something else. Okay, get that off of there. Mm-mm. Get that off of there. Sorry.
That's okay. May have to stop screen share, find what you want, and pull it up, and then screen share.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay. Because I wanted you to see, where did I put it? Vedic square. Okay, that's not it.
If you don't mind, Mavis, we do have a question from Kay about your Ganesha
Okay.
yantra, and she's saying that she felt exactly the same when she first painted Ganesha yantra, that she didn't like the colors, and it took several paintings to begin to connect with the energy. But her question is, where did the colors of the yantra originate from?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I don't 100% know that answer. I do know what I do know, and what I learned is that the yantras were created by the rishis, who were ancient seers, in their meditation. So they would go into very high states like samadhi or whatever you want to call it. Um, and they would meditate on a mantra, and the mantra would give them the image. And that's where they got that from. I'm not sure when colored yantras started to come into existence, because back in the day, most of the yantras were three-dimensional. Some were carved on rocks, the ancient ones they found. Then in India, they started making metal yantras, like on copper. They're engraved, so they're not colored. And I believe that my teacher might have been the first person to bring out the colored yantras, and he learned them from his great uncle. In his family, there some of the people in his family were yogis, although they were householders, but they were yogis. And he learned. He One year he went to take care of his granduncle, and his granduncle, I guess, saw that he was restless or whatever, so he gave them this activity of making yantras, and he learned them from him. And he also told me that there are descriptions in some some scriptures, and I don't know which ones they are. But like, for example, like the planet yantras, they all have very specific colors. And he said, okay, well, sometimes they describe it as a certain flower that blooms at sunrise in June, let's just say. So everybody in that particular area knows what that is. So they know that color. And so that's how he started getting some of the colors. And yeah, so this is a whole sort of new tradition of colored yantras. And probably some of it came from his own intuition, as well as learning it from his granduncle. And he also studied with yogis, and that's all I got on that.
Yeah. So, but these colors have become standardized, is what you're saying, for
Well,
Ganesha
yeah,
yantras.
now, yes, since he brought it out, and there's a few of us that have learned it and have been teaching. So this is what we teach. Um, and many of the yantras, I follow the colors that he taught me. And if I try to do something different, for me, it doesn't feel right. And I can always see other people that make yantras, and some people make stuff up, and that's okay. As well as, if you search yantras on Google, you'll find many different kinds of yantras, but where they come from, I don't know. I don't know what the source is. Um, so sometimes when I see some people's yantras, it doesn't feel right to me, energetically, because it's an energetic practice. And colors have energy, colors have meaning, they do different things. So I don't like to tell people this because if you and put this idea in your head, but if you make a yantra and you meditate on it, if you stare at the yantra for like till, let's say, your eyes water, like if you were staring at a flame like Chatak, and you close your eyes, you will see the after image of the yantra. And that's a meditation too, where you can just meditate on the after image in your third eye. And in most cases, you'll see the opposite colors of what is there on your paper. So that's really interesting because, like, if you're painting with a green and you don't like it, when you close your eyes, you're going to see the opposite. Now, interestingly, with Ganesh Yantra, all the colors in that yantra are like opposite colors. So it's really a yantra about balance and harmony. And that's what the effect it creates on the body. And sometimes when you're working with something and if you have an aversion to it, it's good to examine that, like why you don't like it or what is it, because I did that with the planets. I made yantras of all the planets. Do you want me to show those?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, let me get them back up on the screen.
Yeah, whatever you would like, but eventually would be also very interested in your relationship
Okay, yeah.
yantras.
Yantra. Okay, so I have to share my screen now. Okay, share. Okay, so here we go. Can you all see this? All
Yes,
right.
uh-huh.
So this is called Navagraha, which is 9 planets, and I'll show you them. But so you could see they're all different colors, and okay, so this is the sun. So you see the sun colors are very obvious. Moon, opposite of sun, right? Um, that's Jupiter. Okay, so when I first learned the Jupiter, I hated it. And it was really a good one for me to do, but I just didn't, I don't like yellow, but I like it now. It grew on me. This is Mercury, the greens, Venus, which is very beautiful, um, Mars, and this is Rahu, which is the north node of the moon, and Ketu, which is the south node of the moon, and Saturn. So Saturn, we just did a workshop this weekend on Saturn Yantra. So,
These are really nice that you've done these. I know a lot of Jyotishis, including myself, used to use these for remedial measures. All right. So if somebody's having a problem with the sun or with leadership and confidence, then they could use the Surya yantra, put it on their altar, meditate on it, etc. And or they can draw it, right? They can sit
yeah,
down and actually draw the yantra.
yeah, it's good to put it and look at it, but I find that you have a better effect if you actually make it yourself. I'm happy to
Yeah.
make it for anybody, and I get the benefit when I do that, and that's great. But I think that as a practice, if you go to an astrologer and they tell you, okay, so there are different reasons why you might do the specific, like you use Surya as an example. So let me get back to that one. Okay. So any of these planet yantras, so that's sun or Surya. So it's recommended, okay, if you don't know anything about your chart, but you just know that what your rising sign is, or we call Lagna in Vedic astrology, that you can use a yantra for the ruling planet. So let's say you have a Leo rising, the ruling planet would be the sun. So making a yantra for your ascendant lord will help your constitution, your health, your body, your life path, all that. So that would be one reason why you might make use a planet. And those of you that are more into astrology and you know your own charts, know that some planets are giving you problems. So that would might be a good one to make. Um, and it's recommended to make 40 of a yantra if you're gonna make one if you really want to see change. You can even do 108, which is a huge commitment, but I haven't gotten to 108 yet, but I have done 40 of certain yantras. So, and I do see things shift, so it's helpful. And there are other reasons as well, but those are, just the general prescription. So, and you wanted to see the relationship mandalas? Okay, let me get the.
Sure, sure, sure. There is maybe as you bring that up too, there is a question here
Mhm.
wanting to know if there's an Earth yantra.
Earth.
Mm-hmm. A yantra for the Earth.
Well, there probably is, but
There
I don't know.
probably is.
But there is a yantra. Actually, I'm going to be doing a workshop on it. One of the Mahavidyas called Bhuvaneshwari,
Oh,
and Bhu means earth. So she's the goddess of the phenomenal world. So would that be earth? Probably.
yeah.
All material things on
Mm,
earth, and also Maya. She helps you to escape Maya, which is illusion. So that's the best answer I have left for that. And there probably are other ones for Earth, but I just don't know them. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this. This is called the Vedic square. And this is how I create mandalas. This is a Vedic number pattern. A chart. It's a chart that has numbers, and the numbers create patterns. So I create patterns like designs from the numbers. So let's say, for example, I wanted to do something for number one, sun. So the numbers and the planets are connected. I would find all the number ones on the chart, and then I lay it out on my paper, which I'm not going to show you how I do that right now. But that's how I get all those designs. So you asked me about relationship mandalas. These are basically those Vedic square number patterns. So what I do is I take two numbers and combine them. And usually, so there's two numbers that we work with in this system. One is called your destiny number and one is called your psychic number. So I take two people's destiny numbers and place them together. So what I did was here, I took my own number and I did my number with every number just because I wanted to understand how the energies of the planets work with me. And it's very interesting because for me, like some of them were very easy to do together and some of them were not. So you have to look at that. It's like, well, and I believe when you make these relationship mandalas, it creates more harmony. You have to make it look beautiful. Like if you're doing two people's numbers together, you want to make a beautiful image, even if you don't like the colors together. Like I'm supposed to do one for my son and his fiance, and I'm not loving the color combination, so I have to work on that. So let's see.
So I'm curious, how do you determine your destiny number and your psychic
Okay,
number?
so I can just tell you quickly. Your psychic number is your birthday. So, for example, um, if you write your full date out, the month, the date, and the year, the full year. So your psychic number is your date. So let's say I'm born on October 3rd, 1956. So I'm a three because I'm born on the 3rd. And in this system, we reduce everything down to a single digit, even if you're born on the 12th, you're still a three. Born on the 21st, you're still a three. So that's how that works. And your destiny number, you add up the full month, date, and full year, and then you reduce it to a single digit, and that's your destiny number. So that's how that works.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. So another one. Yeah, this is another one. Oh, so I didn't tell you what this one was. This is a number 3, which I am, with a number 4. And number 4 is connected to Rahu. So you can see the colors. The Jupiter colors are yellow, and the Rahu colors are the earthy kind of colors. Okay. Now here's another one I did for somebody. I think it was a wedding present for my nephew. So this one is number 9, Mars, and number 2, Moon. It's an interesting combination, and not a likely combination, but somehow it works. Here's another number. This is a number 3, Jupiter, with a number 9, Mars. This is just Jupiter, number 3. So it's all yellows. And this is one that I did for somebody. Oh, yeah. No, this is mine. I did number 7, because I'm 7 destiny, with number 1, Sun. So this one was challenging because the number 7 colors are like smoky greens and khakis and those kind of colors. And the number 1 sun colors are like bright, like orange and red. So how do you make it go together? So I think this one works. I know I was happy with this when I did it. It was a challenge though. Have any other ones? Okay, here's another one. So this one is Rahu and Ketu together. So number 7 and number 4. So you see the 4 colors of those earthy, smoky colors, and the 7 colors are the green, smoky greens, not bright greens. And this is another one. This is number 7, because I see the green there, with, it looks like Venus, number 6. That's it on that. Stop sharing. Okay. So those are the relationship mandalas, and I think they're really fun to make.
Did you come up with that way of doing
Well,
relationship?
yes and no.
Yeah.
I mean, we, it was never called relationship mandalas, and what I did learn was that, I could take my psychic number and my destiny number and create a pattern from both numbers together. So that I did, but then I thought about it a lot, and I was like, yeah, well, two destiny numbers together in a relationship, because everybody's interested in relationships.
That's
Um,
right.
what does that look like on as a pattern and color wise and all that? So, um, So yes, in a way I did.
Good.
Yeah. So anything else you want me to tell you about?
Well, let's just see if there's a question that just came up here. How do these benefit individuals in their daily life? Are these related to birth charts? So I think they mean the relation, I'm assuming the relationship charts.
The relationship mandalas
Mandalas,
or the
yes.
yantras? Okay.
I'm not sure. It just says, are they related to birth charts?
No, they're not related to birth charts because I'm working with numerology and numbers, which are connected to planets. So in a sense,
Hmm.
yes. But I think that if you have an image like that, let's say on your wall, and every day you have to see it, it's a reminder of something beautiful. And um, it's also good if, you know, if somebody that's a couple makes it, because then I believe it can create more harmony and understanding. So,
Good. So we would just open it up for any questions. I know a couple of you have been putting in the Q&A box, but you can feel free to also put in chat. We might also just be able to give you the option to open your unmute. But if not, just put it in chat or Q&A. And you mentioned, Mavis, that you do these courses or training online now.
yeah, I do
Is that
everything.
correct?
It's a whole new world now
It's
of
a whole new world.
things. I used to teach workshops and retreats, sacred art
Hmm.
retreats. Um, I used to take groups to India. You can't do that now. Um, but I have recently started working with uh, an organization from India called Mystic Art Retreats. And our goal eventually is to have a live retreat in India. Hopefully that will happen. If
Sure.
we don't even know. But
Sometime.
anyway, yeah, um so I've been teaching all my online workshops with them through them. And so right now we just recently started a Planet Yantra series, and this weekend we did Saturn or Shani. And not sure which planet we're going to do next. One person in the class asked for Venus, so we might do that
It's a
one
good
next.
one. It's a nice one to do
Beautiful.
after
Yeah,
Saturn.
it's beautiful. It is. Um,
You do have a couple other questions here that are coming
okay,
up.
all right.
Eric is asking, do you provide consultations that in terms of what kind of yantra I would need? That's a good question.
Yeah, I can do that.
And do you want to maybe even type how do they contact you? What's the easiest way? Just go through your website.
Yeah, where do you want me to type that?
You could just put it in the chat.
Yeah, so if you go to my website, let me put it there.
I can even
Sacred.
motherarts.com.
Com. If you go to my website,
Perfect.
um, there is one. You have to search through it, and I'm going to probably redo my website because it's a lot of stuff on there. But you can find where I have it listed that I do that yantra consultations. And so how I do that is I will make your astrological chart. I'm not giving you an astrological reading, but I'm looking for certain things in your chart to help you, with to find the right yantra. So I do that.
And relative to horoscopes, there's another question here that says if you have more than one planet that needs to be strengthened, as we all do. In that sense, may you have to combine one, may you have to combine one, then one planet's color together. I guess, do you bring the two colors together?
Good question.
Must depend on those two planets a bit.
It it depends. I would say probably make one of each yantra if you're making yantras. And I mean, I have done that where I created a, I don't know where it is. I'd like to show it to you though.
Sure.
Let me see if I can find it. Hang on. Might be under art. Mm-hmm. No, it's not, of course. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, so let me share the screen. Okay, so what this is, you can see in the middle there's a yantra, and it's a moon yantra. And I don't know if you all know what sati sati is. It's a Saturn cycle in one's chart, and it lasts for a good 7 years, I believe. So, and it's connected to the moon. So Saturn goes in the sign before your moon, the sign that your moon is in, and the sign after your moon. So I wanted to see what that looked like. So what I did was is I created the moon yantra, and then I work with the Vedic square pattern for Saturn, which is number 8, and I created the design behind the yantra. And then I worked with colors for Saturn and the moons because I wanted to see what that might look like. So that's what it came out for me. If somebody else did it, it would be totally different.
Yeah, looks great. You can certainly see the shiny in there.
You can see. Okay, let me stop that.
And let's see, we do have just one more question here.
Okay.
Do you conduct workshops geared towards the special watercolor techniques used by your teacher?
Oh, like the wash painting technique?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, people have been asking me for to do it, but I prefer to do that live. Um, just because it's a little complicated and on Zoom in a group, I don't think it will work particularly well. Um, I might make a video of me doing it, and that might be helpful for people. Um, or I could teach it online, but one-on-one, because I have to see like, what the person's doing. And yeah, so I will do that. And I just want to say that the next workshop I'm going to be teaching online is we also started a Mahavidya course. So that will be Bhuvaneshwari. We brought that up, right? So I believe that's June 5th and 6th or something like that. It's on my website. The schedule's there. It's also on Facebook and on Instagram. We post like a crazy amount of times. But so if anybody's interested to learn more about when I'm going to have workshops, you can just go on my website and fill out the email form, and then I'll put you on my email list. And I don't send out a lot of emails, so you don't have to worry about getting too many, but probably a couple a month. So, if I'm promoting something, then I will do that.
Great. Well, we really appreciate it, Mavis. I think that's some good questions that we got from the attendees, and really appreciate you taking the time here to show us some of your beautiful drawings and explain a little bit more about the sacred art of Yantras and mandalas.
Yes.
So very, very much appreciated. And again, if anybody is interested in seeing more of Mavis's drawings, she has number of them on her website, and also, as she was saying, her workshops.
Yeah, and also Instagram. Follow me on Instagram.
There we go.
Sacred Mother Arts on Instagram.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank
Okay.
you again so much.
Okay.
And yeah, you've got a couple of thank you, wonderful talks, some feedback from the attendees. So
Great, great, great.
thank you. Really, very much appreciate it. Namaste.
Okay.